Hello there, this is John Chen with another amazing episode of the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. If you're watching us live, make sure to subscribe, share, like, and comment. If you are online with us and ask a question, we might even answer it live. If you would like to see all the episodes of the Engaging Virtual Meeting podcast, go to engagingvirtualmeetings.online and you can subscribe on one of your 13 favorite places you love to listen to podcasts. And while you're at it, why not grab a free ticket to the Engaging Conference? This is my conference on October 1, 2, and 3. This will be the first year we are going a hybrid. All you got to do is go to engagingvirtualmeetings.com/CON. We're having another beautiful sunny day here in Seattle. And I'm excited for this next guest. I believe that we met on Speakers Speak Live. Shout out to our good friend Marty Dickinson. She spent over 20 years in management information systems. Oh, hold on. I got to cue your music here, so I got to do the right thing. And so let's see. She learned this from the inside out. One of her favorite things is being the Make It Happen Maven. The Make It Happen Maven. She loves helping others. Let's welcome to the show the one and only Sue Wilhite. Hi, Sue.
John,
How are you doing today, Sue?
oh, it's a sunny day in Sonoma County too.
Oh my gosh, you're in Sonoma. Well, let's say, so do you have a little bit of wine country out there then?
We've got a lot of wine country out here. The vines are beginning to show green again. It's absolutely gorgeous. All the flowers on the trees are blooming. Roses are starting. It's heady and intoxicating.
Well, beautiful. Hey, I'm curious about the blue necklace. Is that actually handmade glass or something else that you have?
No, this is an unusual stone, and I had to get it when I saw it. It is something called blue labradorite. And labradorite usually comes in a kind of a grayish, but with some streaks of color, like opalite sort of colors.
Yeah.
But this is blue, a dark blue with those streaky colors in it. And I saw it, I had to get it because it's just gorgeous.
Okay, let's guess. Your favorite color? Blue.
Uh, Gee, you wonder? Yes, it's blue or purple. I like purple, but it doesn't show up as well in in virtual meetings, so I go for the
Oh.
blue.
Oh, I have some purple. You'll have to check that out. But thank you so much.
Oh,
It was
okay.
like, I felt like a mental genius there for half a second. Okay, why don't we do this? Speaking of genius, Sue, for my friends who don't know who you are, take a moment to introduce who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I am Sue Wilhite, Ms. Tech Coach. And what I do is I help businesses, particularly solopreneurs, like coaches, like acupuncturists or chiropractors, or people like that who don't like tech, are intimidated by tech, don't want to do tech. They are tech timid and they don't want to do it. So I help them with their online tech. So things like setting up passwords, backups, setting up online business systems like funnels, landing pages, stuff like that, and help them with their marketing in that particular case, and maybe some business strategies and getting the word out about them and having tech be something that they use.
How did you start? Did you have a corporate or something else kind of job before you started this?
Yeah, I spent over 20 years in IT in the Silicon Valley. And
Oh.
and I was designing business systems for them. So
Mhm.
different companies, everything from tiny little startups to mega global corporations. And as you said in the intro, I learned business from the inside out. And then I quit and had my own business and started that in 95. And while I wasn't in the IT business when I quit, because I kind of wanted to get out of that, I
Yeah.
kept running into people who were in business who kept wanting help in the tech community because I kept up with it. And so this is what I do now.
Oh, fantastic. Now, you recently saw me at Marty's Speak Live. Go check that out, speakerspeaklive.com. Very beneficial if you are a speaker of any kind as you listen to the feedback for others, and maybe it'll be you. It was my turn last week. And one of the things that I think maybe Sue really appreciated, since she's been in IT for so long, was that I was on Prodigy and we were like making this. She said she was having PTSD from this. Right. I'm just going to let this run for about an hour. No, I'm just kidding. So, Sue, talk about the early days of technology. I mean, you shared a little bit about waiting and some other things. I just want to curious about, some funny things, like maybe things you didn't like and things though that were still really amazing back then to you. We're getting a little nostalgia with the Prodigy, right?
Yeah. So yeah, with Prodigy, and with any online things, I remember one of the big things. Well, there were two big things. One was that was somewhat later was getting a 9600 baud modem. The freedom. It would connect in 5 minutes instead of 30. The time savings. It was brilliant. You could type in something and hit return, and it might actually get back to you that night. The other thing, actually, which was even more of a technological revolution, and most people didn't get to have this experience, but I went to one of the first PC conventions in San
Ooh.
Francisco.
Which one?
And
Which one? Like Whole Earth or what?
it was in I want to say it was in like 83 or 84, and it was in the convention center, the Bill Graham, what is now the Bill Graham Civic Center auditorium building. And there was this guy there who had a product demo, but they didn't give him a booth. They didn't want to give him a booth. So they shoved him in this little basement room, and there were 50 people, and he created this little circle, and we were all standing around, and he projected the Lisa up on the wall. This was Steve Jobs
Like,
demoing
yeah.
the precursor to the Mac.
That's cool. That's
years
right.
later, it was like, oh, I wish I'd had a camera then.
People wonder why I photographed. Yeah, that footage would be archivable. Like, did nobody have a camera? Nobody caught it?
Nobody had a camera. Nobody had a camera. Nobody was recording it. The organizers of the conference didn't want to talk to him, didn't really want him, and so they shoved him in this basement room. And for those of us who were there, it was absolutely jaw-droppingly amazing seeing the interface for the first time, using the mouse and watching the cursor go across the wall and the little icons, and he could double click a file and it would open. You just don't know how mind-blowing that was back in 85.
It was. He was a revolution. So talk to me about talk to me about revolutionaries. And you've been long enough in the Silicon Valley. Like, what are some signatures of revolutionaries in tech?
Well, I'll do a call out to one of the first companies I worked for in the tech industry, which was again related to Apple. And I worked for a company that made the SCSI disk drives for Apple. And SCSI was a communications protocol that allowed you not to hardwire a disk drive into a computer. You could just sort of unplug it and plug it back in again. And it made the communication with the disk drive that much faster. It was revolutionary, totally revolutionary. And the drive sizes got smaller and smaller. My boss in IT had one of the first disk drives, which was about yay big, and personal computing disk drives, which was about like that. And it was a doorstop. And then and now we have. Let's see if I can find one really quickly. I've got a whole bunch of little, there, one of them, one of those little cards.
So this is 64 gigabytes. right? On this
Right?
card, and before it used to take a room,
Yes.
and I
Yes.
don't think people have appreciation for that, right?
No, no. But we do get to have the legacy of that wonderful quote by Bill Gates, who said that 64 megabytes was as much as anybody would ever need.
Did you ever meet Bill during that whole time
No, I
then? Did
never
you ever
had the
meet Bill
chance to
Gates?
meet Bill Gates. No, because he was up in Seattle and I was in the Silicon Valley. Um, never crossed paths.
Okay, if you could ask Bill Gates a question, what would it be?
Oh, goodness. What were you thinking with Windows 86? Or 96, I guess it was. What were you thinking? That was an Excel. Microsoft, that was just, that was dreadful.
You could fill in the blank with that. What were you thinking when fill in the blank? Like Vista? Vista would have been on that list. Bob would have been on that list.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Right.
what
were
were you
you
thinking? But that I do think this, maybe you've seen this, Sue, is that the path to innovation is littered with failure.
Absolutely.
And you got to,
Absolutely.
right, you got to be okay with failure. Like people like get all distraught and bent out of shape about failure, but I think that you have to embrace failure if you really really want to be a great revolutionary.
Yes. Yes. And the people who get it about iteration and what you have to do, you have to get it wrong sometimes in order to get it right the next time. Right? Perfection
Yeah.
is enemy of getting it done. So you throw things out there, you see what happens, and then you iterate from that. And that's the way
Well,
innovation really works.
well, let's talk about your Corona vacation, right? So we all 3 4 year Corona vacation. So talk to me about like what did you do? What did Sue do when the world stopped? I would just be curious, like what did you decide to do?
Well, here's an unusual thing, and I'm going to have people take a really deep breath. I drove for Lyft.
During like after Corona started.
After Corona started, yes, in March of 2020, I drove for Lyft. And I was taking people who were on dialysis. There's a couple of pain clinics here in Sonoma County that not only deal with methadone, but also the folks who are addicted because they ended up being addicted to it, to Oxycontin or Oxycontin.
Right.
And
Yeah.
they have to go and get a dose every single day because they can't be issued, like a bottle of pills. So they have to
Right.
go every day. Otherwise, they are in unbearable pain. And I thought, these poor people, there's no taxis, there's no buses, there's no, they have no other way of getting to these clinics. The dialysis people would die if that wasn't for Lyft and Uber, taking them to their
Yeah.
appointments. There are people who I took a lady to open heart surgery because she had no other way of
Wow.
getting there. I mean, there were stories. And that's what I did to stay sane, because if I had stayed in the house the entire time,
Hmm.
I would have been running, screaming in the streets. It was awful.
So that does that make you the extrovert? You're the people person in the house?
I am right on the border of introvert and extrovert. I like people. I really like people. I love, one of the reasons I'm in Speaker Speak Live is because I love going out and speaking. I adore speaking. I
Yeah.
love the energy, whether it's virtual or on, in person. I love doing
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
I want to go home afterwards, pull up a book, cup of tea, my dog or my cat, and just sit there
Yeah.
and zone out for a while and don't talk to me. So, you
So
know,
I hope you've heard the term ambivert.
ambivert. Yes, that's it. That's
Yeah.
it.
So that's you.
That's me.
That's probably you. Okay. Okay. Cool. So So then what has to, you probably attended your fair share of virtual meetings over the last 4 years. What has to happen for Sue to really be engaged in a great virtual meeting?
Oh, it can't be a talking head. It has to be
Hmm.
interactive. It
Hmm.
it can't be too much eye candy going along, because then I can't keep up with what's going on.
I know I
Um,
have a lot. I know I self-admittedly have a lot.
well, video once in a while, having it be interactive, being able
Yeah.
to communicate. One of the things about Speaker Speak Live is it's a very structured meeting, but then at the end, there's like 10 minutes where we all just sit around and discuss stuff, and we just have a conversation. And
Yeah.
that's really great. It's fabulous. I'm a fan of the structure, but I'm also a fan of, let's relax that for a minute and let's have fun with it.
Well, you'll love this, Sue. They're running a happy hour ever since March of 2020, Friday, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and we're still going. So it's every Friday, 5 o'clock. I'll give you an invite. So, and then one of the keys to that was that this happy hour had it was never recorded, never streamed, and there was no structure. It was the inverse. So it's just whatever happens, happens. And it turned out to what we call, it was one of the most psychologically safe virtual meetings in the last 3 years. Because a lot of us who have been there here too, right? We've been chatting with each other every week on a consistent basis. And we now know, what to talk about, maybe what not to talk about, and in the early stages, they actually asked for it for twice a week because in the early stages of Corona, there was so much uncertainty and turmoil, people getting jobs, people losing jobs, saying you're exposed, everything was changing. And so people asked for it twice a week. And that was kind of their therapy, was to come to this meeting and be, freely say whatever the hell they wanted to say.
Yes.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah, so we've been running a happy hour like that for now since March of 2020.
Yeah. Yeah. And as long as you don't have, um, what in another term, cyber bully is a different thing, but in virtual
Yeah.
meetings, there are cyber bullies, right? There are people who try to take over the
Yeah.
conversation and they just run it.
Yeah.
And no.
Yeah. Not in my meeting. That's part of the facilitator. The part of the
Yes.
facilitator part is what we call air traffic control is to, make that egalitarian and if somebody is like that, I mean, they understand it's like everything too. It's like even back at corporate work. Every virtual meeting has a culture, whether you determined it or not. And it's up to you to keep that culture or define that culture. Otherwise, it creates itself. And so that was one of the things that we did. We always made sure that meeting was safe
Good.
for other people.
Good. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. What are some ways? I don't know if you've had.
John, for some reason, I can't hear you. Okay. Yes, I'm a professional MC in some regards, so I'll keep talking. Another thing about virtual meetings that I like, and that I've been to a few virtual meetings that did this, is having people play games or interesting poll questions. Interesting in that there's some unusual answers to allow people to hold forth on something that actually works for them. Um, there was a kind of virtual meeting where the virtual meeting had these interesting breakout rooms. So it's kind of like going to somebody's house and going to, I don't know, a cocktail party or a barbecue or something. And you know how if you're going to something like that, different people congregate in different rooms and have different conversations. Well, this person organized the breakout rooms to have different topics. So you could go and talk about football or baseball or sports in one of them, or you could go and talk politics, which is a little volatile, but they, there was a be polite sort of vibe in that room. The thing was to be polite. Yep. Is John back?
Well, I'm sort of back. Like, I got all the gremlins apparently today. So this is the exciting part of live virtual meetings. The key here is that you should always have a plan B, C, D, E,
Yes.
F, and G. So today's plan B just happened to be the phone. And the other part too is Sue actually knows the rules, which is like, if I'm not on screen, just keep talking.
Keep talking. Keep it going. Keep it going. Yes.
I love it because I had tech gremlins earlier just before Sue came on. Apparently, my camera decided to fail, and now my audio decided to fail. You know what, though? You know what day it is, Sue?
It makes it happen.
All right, it's April 1st, so apparently my computer knows.
Yes.
My computer knows. It's like the AI really know. They're like, hey, why don't we just cut John's audio like right in the middle of an invite? Let's do that, right? So that actually leads me to a great piece with this, Sue, which is what's one of the greatest like virtual disasters that you either saw or were part of in the last 3 or 4 years? Because this is kind of like, this is how it is, right?
Virtual disaster. I know what a virtual disaster was. So I was the MC and facilitator for a group of, it was called Pitchapalooza, and it happens every year. And they invite writers to come and pitch to editors and publishers. And it was the first time we were doing it online. And we decided in our infinite wisdom, and I was a part of this, so it was also on me, that what we would do is we would take folks into breakout rooms in a pod. So it'd be like 8 or 9 people in a pod. And then we'd move them from breakout room to breakout room, and the publishers or the editors would stay static.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Oh, that was a disaster. Don't ever do that. It's
really hard, right? Zoom does not make that easy.
Zoom does not make that easy because you're moving 8 people at a time. Go for the fewest number of moves, let me tell you. And so we had limited, the pitch things were 15 minutes each, and it was taking 10 minutes to get everybody into their rooms.
So
that was kind of a disaster, but we got through it. Everybody was understanding, and it eventually worked. And the next year we went, okay, we're moving the publishers and the editors and stuff.
Yeah, that's only one.
They
right? One
will go from room to room, and we can do that.
The fun part too is you can have co-hosts, so you can actually move them all at the same time if you had a number of people.
Yeah,
that gotta work together.
Didn't happen. I was the tech goddess for that one. There was nobody else who understood Zoom even a little to be able to do that.
So is that part of what you do too, Sue? Are you like producing, or are you still producing, or you just were producing in the past?
I haven't been producing this year yet, but that's mostly because I've been focusing on getting my book released, and I was going to be putting on a summit earlier back in March, which ended up getting canceled. Or postponed, not canceled, postponed because my keynote speaker got COVID and a bunch of other people had problems. So we're postponed until June. And there was a lot of production stuff that went into that. So
yeah. Summits is really the key. So you'll have to come. I don't think you've ever been to my conference, right? The Engaging Conference?
I don't think so, no.
Because it's really geared towards people who create summits, master classes, and conferences. So
nice.
You're always looking for new ideas. Feel free to come out and hang out there.
Yeah.
So talk about your book. Why did you write the book?
I wrote the book because the people that I was talking to, my potential clients, are people who I've come up with this term, tech timid. They are They don't believe that they can ever figure out tech. They don't want to learn tech. They think
Yeah.
tech is, they're kind of Luddites. They don't want to deal with it. And yet they need it in their business. So this is all about little bits of information. It's what you could call a scrolling book if it was, if it's an ebook, but it's a flip book if it's in print. You could just spin to a chapter and go, okay, there's a piece of information that I can use right here, right now. And that's the way that it's organized.
Very cool. What do you think is the top tip in the book? Like, what I'll try to give, you can hit a setting where you can now unmute and you can mute and actually unmute other people in Zoom so you can get rid of you're on mute forever. So that was like one of my top Zoom tips. What's one of your top tech tips that you have?
It's technically not tech. When you get frustrated with something, take a deep breath.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Right?
Why do you believe that? I have my own beliefs, but why do you believe that?
I got very much into neuroscience and the way the brain works. And when you're getting frustrated and angry with something, your brain slowly shuts off, or quickly, depending on how fast you go nuclear on it. And you must take a deep breath to allow your brain to come back online. And your left brain can really communicate with your right brain. Your right brain gives up the ghost. It's the right brain just goes, okay, I'm not going to be creative right now because you don't need that. I'm done. Right. And the left brain is going, okay, give me a solution. And there isn't. The first chapter in my book is all of these calming apps that you can use on your phone or on the computer to just let you take a deep breath.
Take a break. All right. Well, let's check this part. You've been in tech for a long time and you met visionaries like Steve Jobs. What does Sue see for the future of virtual and hybrid meetings?
Oh, it's going to continue to get better. I think about Star Wars. In the first Star Wars movie, they had those little holograms, right? Which I thought that was the greatest thing ever. We're almost there. They were showing them in, some of the Marvel movies where people were doing holograms and communicating with each other. We're almost there. The AIs are leapfrogging an enormous amount of technology. I mean, people are terrified of AIs, and I understand that. I'm a big science fiction fan, so I've read all of the apocalyptic AI taking over the world sort of things. But I read all the time, every single week, oh, there's an AI that just solved this issue that's been bugging people forever in medicine, in programming, in hardware, in software. You just give the AI a problem and it goes, oh, here it is. Because it doesn't have to get through all the filters that our brains have. It just comes up with a solution. It puts two and two together. It's got that database to make those decisions. So it's awesome. We're going to get there faster than we think.
So I'm going to give a shout out. I think it's to Beth Z, was giving a presentation about writing a mini book, an A to Z mini book. And in 45 minutes, she was using ChatGPT and Canva. I'm not a Canva user, but I own a Copilot license. So I used Copilot and PowerPoint and finished writing a book in less than 45 minutes and then gave it away to everybody who's on my email list. So if you're not on my email list, get on it if you want to see this mini book. Okay. So you're right, Sue.
I created this with ChatGPT. It gave me an outline. It gave me chapter suggestions, but I went in and edited it.
Yes.
Because
that's what I did too.
ChatGPT is really fond of the passive voice. And no, that's bad. Don't do that.
So Sue, I have something here called the lightning round. I'm going to give you a whole collection of questions, and you have to answer them as fast as possible.
All right.
Okay.
Here we go.
And I think I even have some sound effects. Okay, there we go. All right. Best technology that didn't make it.
Newton.
Oh, that was a good one. That's true. I have friends that owned one of those. Top skill you have that doesn't relate to work.
I'm a professional psychic and read tarot cards. I'm a tarot master.
Oh, very good. I own the Osho tarot deck.
Oh, one of my favorite decks. That was my
There we
second
go.
professional deck.
Okay, best thing about the Bay Area.
The weather. I know this year it had the last 2 years it hasn't been great, but the weather really.
Atmospheric River. Okay, best acronym. Right? The best acronym.
That's a tough one.
Thank you. I get extra points for that.
You do. I might lose points on that one. No, I can't think of the best acronym.
Okay, any acronym. First one that comes to mind.
Oh, now you've got my brain going blank because it went into spin mode. For real.
This is like a CAD. This is like Control Alt Delete.
Oh, yeah, well, CAD, yeah, computer assisted drawing.
There you go.
ASCII. Oh, yes. American Standard Code for Information Interchange. And that was actually a question on one of the tests when I was getting my IT certification. And it was true or false. ASCII stands for Armenian Standard Code for Information Interchange. Nope, that's a false.
Okay. Let's see. The best tech tip that you haven't said yet.
Oh, the best tech tip. If you're in business, go get your Google Business Profile.
Oh yeah. Oh, I've heard that one quite a bit. The best Lyft ride or best Lyft passenger?
The best Lyft ride was the one that I went from northern Sonoma County down to Fresno. The best Lyft passenger was a guy who was majoring in computer science in UC Davis. And I took him from Sebastopol to UC Davis, and we talked about computing, quantum computing, AI, the nature of the universe, quantum consciousness. It was a great conversation.
I have two sisters that have graduated UC Davis, UC
Yes,
Cowtown.
go Aggies, go Aggies.
Go Aggies. There we go. The award that you're most proud of.
Gosh, there's a couple of them. When I was working corporate, the company whose software we used gave me a best speaker award for speaking at their conference.
Oh,
Yeah.
That was a good one.
That was a good one. I'm very proud of that.
There we go. Okay, best book that is not yours.
Oh, goodness. Oh, John, if you saw my house, you would never ask that. We have more than 20 bookcases in our house. I used to own a bookstore.
Oh, my goodness. I did not know that.
I didn't have enough books, so I had to buy a bookstore. So asking me the best book is like asking somebody who their favorite child is. That's just, I could go on and on and on and on and on.
Best book in the last year.
Best book in the last year. Oh, there was one that blew my mind. Which one was it? Gosh, I read like 10 books a month.
Favorite genre? Favorite author? I'll try to make it easier.
Oh, favorite author. Goodness. That would either be Shannon McGuire or Becky Chambers.
Ooh, I don't know either of those. That's good.
They're in the science fiction. Becky Chambers is solidly in the science fiction arena. And one of her novellas was up for a Hugo.
Did you watch Three Body Problem yet or not?
Not yet. On my list. The books are on my list as well.
How about the new Dune? Did you see the new Dune?
I have not seen the new Dune. We just rewatched the first one. So
the old Dune is pretty good.
Yes.
That's pretty good sci-fi.
Yeah.
Okay. And then last question. What's your wish for 2024?
What is my what? Wish for
Wish.
2024? Oh, yes. So my wish for 2024 is to help as many nonprofit organizations as possible. At least 3 or 4. If I could get up to 10, that would be fantastic. And that's what my summit was doing, was it's supporting a group called Shelter to Soldier, and helping to train dogs as psychiatric service animals to military who are suffering from psychological trauma.
Oh, have you heard my best military joke?
Oh, goodness. Lay it on me, John.
So I was the virtual MC for a program for a company called Johnstone Supplies that sells like HVAC and other types of things, and 425 stores across the United States and Canada. So I'm the virtual MC for this virtual conference, and I'm interviewing the vice president of sales, right? Let's pretend like his name is Mark. And so I'm down to the last question. I'm like, all right, Mark, do you have any other great words here for all the stores, across the United States and Canada, VP Mark? And Mark starts talking, well, John. And I'm like, well, hey, Mark, what's that? We can't hear what you're saying. And he goes, sorry, John, I forgot to tell you. Our headquarters is underneath the military flight path. So these are jets coming over. So as a virtual MC, all I could do was improv. I'm like, everybody chat jets, right? And then the second line finally came to me, and I say, oh, I see how it is, VP Mark. You get a military flyover to end your keynote, right? Well, thank you so much, Mark, and let's go to the next thing. So thank you for your service to the service, Sue.
Yeah.
If you could get people to magically remember one thing from this interview, what would it be?
Don't be afraid of tech.
And now for Sue, we're going to have the highest tech exit that I've ever had from this show. Here you go. Are you ready? Here we go. Performance. And a special thanks to all those who the show. We'll see you next show.